Think about this. Your home is supposed to be your safe place. But have you ever wondered what's happening right above your ceiling, in the apartment upstairs? Sometimes the noises aren't parties. Sometimes the person you say hi to every day is hiding something disgusting. Stay until the end, because I'm going to tell you what really happened. I'd been living for years in a very old building in Brooklyn, around Sunset Park near 4th Avenue. The kind of place with stained tile in the hallway, a front door that never closes right, and stairs that echo so hard you can hear a keychain from a floor away. My mom and I basically took care of the building. The owner, Ms. Donnelly, trusted us because we'd known her for years and she was older now. She couldn't keep up with every problem. We offered to handle things, collecting rent, checking that everything was in order, arranging maintenance, and making sure the water never got shut off. Sometimes she'd lower our rent or pay us a little depending on what we'd handled, and that helped, because we also had a small corner store nearby, and every extra bit mattered. Everything was calm until apartment 4B got rented. It was directly above us. I remember the day the guys came to ask about it. 2 of them showed up. One had this heavy, dead-still stare, and his hair was slicked back with so much product it looked hard. They were very polite, calling me sir, speaking like they were trying to leave a good impression. What they cared about most was whether they could throw parties, because they said they did that often. When we went over the lease, they read the section about gatherings carefully. Yes, people can come over, but there's a schedule, there are limits, and you can't push the whole building past midnight every weekend. They said that was fine. The rent seemed fair to them. They signed. The first month I went to collect, I had low expectations because young tenants always had excuses. Payday. I'm short. Can you wait? But with them, it was immediate. An envelope in my hand, like it was nothing. Here you go. See you. That same day, I collected from the tenant across from us, Mr. Kaplan, who was behind again and always fought about everything. When I told him what he owed, he got loud fast, saying I was exaggerating, saying it was ridiculous. In that hallway, his voice bounced off the walls. The guys from 4B heard it. They came downstairs and stepped in like it was natural. "Are you okay?" one of them asked me. Then, to Kaplan, "Lower your voice. He's talking to you respectfully." Kaplan immediately calmed down. Not because he respected me, because 2 younger men were standing there watching him. He paid what he could and shut up. I was grateful. In New York, neighbors don't usually get involved. People pretend they didn't see anything, didn't hear anything. So that moment made me trust them. After that, when I ran into them, I'd talk a little. One of them told me he'd served in the military before coming to NYC. I remember thinking, okay, maybe he's disciplined. Maybe that's why rent is never a problem. Then the calm ended, because I started noticing things that didn't match what they told me. They said they were in business, like they were merchants, but I saw them inside all the time. Curtains drawn, no normal work rhythm, no morning routine. What never failed was the weekends. On weekends, they went out at night, and they had visitors constantly. Men would come in, laughing, making noise in the hallway. I'd peek out and see them flirting, talking close, dressed up, leaving this sweet cologne trail behind them. At first, it seemed like normal party traffic. Music, voices, the usual. But then it got strange. The music would fade and I'd hear hard, dry impacts, heavy thuds, like something slammed the floor. Then I'd hear dragging, slow and steady, like something being pulled across tile. Sometimes it sounded like furniture. Sometimes it didn't. It repeated in a way that made my skin crawl. I told myself, they're moving things around. They're cleaning. They're setting up. Anything but what my instincts whispered. One night they crossed the line. We were asleep, but the volume got so loud it shook our ceiling. When I checked the time, it was after 3 a.m. My mom was furious. "Go up there," she said. "Tell them to turn it down before the neighbors blame us." So I went upstairs, in pajamas, knocked hard so they'd hear me over the music. One of them opened the door, but not all the way, just a crack, like he didn't want me to see inside. He was sweating. shirt partly open, breathing like he'd been moving fast. And a smell hit me instantly. Bleach, strong enough to sting. Before I could even speak, he apologized fast. He said one of their friends had thrown up and they were cleaning. That's why there was chaos and noise. He promised they'd lower it right away. I thanked him and went back downstairs. The next day, he asked to borrow a wrench because he said he had a leak. I went upstairs because anything that could turn into a major issue, I needed to document it for the owner. Photos, evidence, notes. When I entered their apartment, it almost shocked me how empty it was. Not minimal. Empty like it wasn't meant to be lived in. Bare. No real furniture. No personal things. Then I looked down at the floor. The tile was light so you could see everything. And there were black grooves and scuffs, long streaks, like something heavy had been rolled over and over. The marks looked like suitcase wheel tracks, but deeper, darker, like the suitcase had been deformed by weight. I stared at it, and the slick-haired guy stepped directly in front of me, blocking my view like it was automatic. "Thanks," he said, taking the wrench back. "We're good. If anything changes, we'll let you know." His smile didn't reach his eyes. After that, things got worse. I kept seeing people go upstairs, but I never saw them leave. At first, I told myself they left early. They left quietly. Maybe they had another way out. But our building didn't. One stairwell, one front door. If they left, I would have seen them or heard them. What I did see was the tenants from 4B coming down with large black suitcases. I'd hear it in the stairwell. Thump, thump, thump. The wheels hitting each step. And I'd hear it often enough that it stopped feeling like travel. One day, I was sweeping the entryway when they came out, saw me, and froze for half a second. Their faces tightened. Their eyes flicked left and right down the street like they were checking for someone. They greeted me like normal and went back inside. I waited. About 20 minutes later, they came down again. This time, one of them kept looking around on the sidewalk like he couldn't settle. The slick-haired one forced a laugh. "Man, deliveries are exhausting, right?" he said. "Hauling merchandise up and down in these suitcases, it's brutal." I felt a bad, cold feeling settle in my stomach. I told my mom. "Ma, have you noticed we never see their guests leave?" She brushed it off. "As long as they pay rent, don't get involved. Respect people, don't make problems." I tried to listen. Then one night, I woke up to screeching brakes and sirens outside. I went to the window. There were police lights washing the street red and blue. Outside, Mr. Kaplan was with 3 NYPD officers. He looked shaken, like he was trying not to panic. He opened the front door for them. I thought, did someone try to break in? Did something happen in the building? I stepped into the hallway, and one officer stopped me with his arm. "Go back inside," he said. "Stay in your apartment." I tried to explain that I helped manage the building. He didn't even look at me. He pointed his flashlight at the floor. There was a trail of small drops leading from the entrance to the stairs. Blood. Not a movie puddle, just enough, dot by dot, to follow. The officers moved up the stairs, lights scanning the steps. One of them shouted down, "It ends at 4B." The officer near me turned and asked, "Who lives there?" "2 guys," I said, my mouth dry. "They go out at night. They might not be home." Then Kaplan explained what happened. He'd seen them come out with a suitcase, and they looked nervous. Not normal nervous, like something was wrong. When they locked eyes with him, they dropped the suitcase on the sidewalk and walked away fast, like leaving it behind was safer than carrying it. Kaplan got suspicious. He opened it. What he saw made him call the police immediately. I'm not going to describe it in graphic detail, but it was human remains, and there were fluids. Enough that the police didn't question what it meant. The building turned into chaos. More officers, detectives, flashlights sweeping every corner, radios crackling, orders shouted up the stairwell. When the specialists arrived, they carried evidence out of 4B in bags, ropes, tape, tools, and things that looked like they were meant to restrain someone, control someone, clean something. Pieces of a life that didn't match the polite faces we'd seen in the hallway. After the investigation, the owner came with my mom and me to see the apartment. Inside 4B, the bleach smell was still there, burned into the walls. The place looked emptier than ever. Along the grout lines and tile edges, there were stains that didn't come out clean. The floor was scratched everywhere from dragging and rolling heavy things again and again. And standing there, all the sounds from the weeks before finally made sense. The thuds, the scraping, the visitors who never left, the deliveries, the normal smiles, the rent on time. Later, the news reported that the apartment had been used as a safe location, a controlled place where victims were lured, held, and extorted. Families were pressured for money, and the victims were harmed anyway. The reporting also said the attackers left marks, symbols, on some victims, like they wanted fear to linger even after everything was done. Nobody wanted to rent 4B after that, even after repairs, even after the tile was replaced. People would come ask about the unit, hear whispers about what happened there, and they wouldn't come back. And the worst part is this: they weren't monsters on the surface. They were the guys who said, "Sir," the guys who defended me in the hallway, the guys who paid rent fast and smiled like they were just another couple of tenants. My mom and I were downstairs the whole time, telling ourselves it was none of our business. Now, I don't hear upstairs noise the same way. Because once your brain accepts that something like that can happen right above your ceiling, your home never fully becomes a safe place again.